Hey everyone, I know I haven't made a video in a long time. I just wanted to come on here and talk about how cerebral palsy kind of forced me into spiritual awakening. I think I've talked about this in the past, but kind of wanted to go more into it. So, being born with cerebral palsy, I have to rely on other people a lot of the time, and it never really kind of it never really made me feel like an individual. Like I was kind of always hyper aware about the different types of personas I would put on when around other people. And it just made me more hyper aware of that and how much, I need to other people to survive and thrive. And so I never really felt like my own person. Always kind of felt like multiple different people inside of me. So then, when I was younger, I kind of had difficulty socializing and difficulty really being myself. Because it kind of felt like other people didn't know how to acknowledge me, and then I would disassociate a lot of the time. And I would get angry and frustrated because I thought I was getting rejected. But really, I was just looking for somebody to snap me out of the dissociative state and help me to feel real. And there were some great friends I had in elementary school, but some of the time, even though people were usually really nice to me, I just felt illusory, and I didn't really know how to snap myself out of it. And then middle school came around, and that was kind of a huge blur. I don't really remember a lot of it because I was back in the special ed classes, and especially in 8th grade, it gave me flashbacks to being in 1st grade, and I was in really bad special ed class, and I asked the teacher, please get me out of this because it's too overwhelming and it's bringing back old shit. And so I just kind of stayed in the hall of my aide, and we read books and did the work together. I remember, speaking of 1st grade, so in 1st grade, I was in the special ed class, and it was really chaotic. It was kind of like being in the psych ward. I don't mean to be rude or blunt, but that's the best analogy I could give to it. It was very overwhelming, and going to school every day kind of sucked. It was just, I didn't really get to the normal treatment, and it was damaging to my ego, which caused even more disassociation probably. I remember when I was in kindergarten, I was in the normal class, but the kids didn't know how to react to me, so I always wanted to talk, but they never really acknowledged me. I remember sitting at a table, and they'd be talking about video games or something, and I would talk, and it would be like talking to a wall, essentially. And I just feel like very left out, very just not, like I wanted to talk, but nobody knew how to acknowledge me. And then, let's see, so I was kindergarten and 1st grade. And then, yeah, the teacher would always yell, and I remember asking her, could you please stop yelling? And she'd be like, I can't, because, the kids make bad choices. And then it's like, well, shit, I'm stuck with this then. And then I remember beginning of 2nd grade, when I was still in California, the teacher went on paternity leave, and it was still hard, but the teacher that replaced her was actually really nice, and there were less tantrums and less shit going on. And then October of 2010 is when I moved to Idaho, and I went to a new elementary school, and the kids were really nice and really cool to me, even though I was really immature. It took me, I would just kind of act kind of silly and out there, but it was always really fun with my aide and stuff. And then I remember just, I don't know, like wanting to talk to certain people, but not really getting acknowledged by them. And just kind of forcing myself which looking back I kind of regret. It was tough at some points, but I had a lot of good friends and a lot of good people that would come over and play video games with me. And so I would say it's kind of up and down from 2nd to 5th grade. And then in 5th grade, I met my best friend at the time or my best friend now. We weren't best friends then, but we hung out a lot in class and stuff. And yeah, I remember a lot of my friends got Facebook, and that was my first exposure to Facebook. And I remember messaging people and getting caught into drama and getting left on red, and that left an impression on me as a kid. And a lot of that caused a lot of, I guess you could say, trauma for lack of a better word, because I just wanted to socialize with friends. And I remember like going to lunch and trying to talk to like girls, and then they're not, like, it would just be like that kind of centerless awareness where like I wasn't really there, but I wanted to be there even though I was right there, and they just wouldn't acknowledge me. 6th grade came around, and I was back in the special ed class, but the kind of the advanced special ed class, and at the beginning it was tough and it brought up a lot of trauma. And then when I I would say maybe like after the first month, they put me in kind of the general special ed class where it wasn't as chaotic. But it was not ideal, but it was better. And then it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And then in 7th grade, I was getting really tired and I couldn't handle all the classes. So I ended up going down to half day, and I got to leave like right at the end of 5th period. And that was really nice. And then that's when I started playing GTA with my best friend, and that's when our friendship started to grow. I remember, I don't really remember much from 7th grade, honestly, except for that. And then, let's skip all the way to high school, because I already talked about 8th grade. So, high school came around, and the beginning, I wasn't really sure because I was still really immature, and I just remember kind of not really sure how I felt about it. It was fun looking back, but I didn't really like, I was still trying to figure shit out by then. So 9th grade, I remember I had a huge crush on this girl, and it kind of was out of control, and I got caught up in fantasy. That was my problem. Still is something I work on a lot. And then, so that actually ended up getting me into therapy, which therapy is when I started kind of getting into spiritual stuff, not much. And then my therapist recommended meditation, and from my Christian upbringing, meditation was kind of a no-no. So, I remember downloading the Headspace app from hearing from somebody on YouTube about it and really liking it, but my parents were unsure about it and they scared me away from using it at the time. Looking back, I wish I used it more and kind of ignored them, but things just unfold the way they have to. And then, so 9th grade kind of keeps going around, and at the end of 9th grade, at the beginning of 10th grade, I was in PE class, and there were these 2 girls I hung out with a lot. One was really nice, and the other one didn't really know what to think of me, I don't think. And they invited me to a church group. So I went to the church group, and they were really nice and really sweet, and they were giving me lots of attention. And then I ended up liking one of the girls, one of the worship leaders, and that kind of opened up a can of worms. And I remember talking to one of her friends about it, and I kind of went to shut up about it. And then I said, come over to my house and we could talk about it. So she comes over to my house, and me being very unmindful, I do a lot of things that trigger her OCD, because she had really bad OCD, and I didn't know that at the time, and I triggered it, and she was really uncomfortable, and she left, and she ended up ghosting me, and this made me feel really angry, and then I would go back to the church group and kind of disassociate, and nobody knew how to acknowledge me. And I just got really angry and really kind of started questioning my Christian upbringing at that time. So then I ended up really getting into weed because I had a lot of anxiety, and my mom was like, normal pharmaceutical drugs would be bad, so let's see how medicinal, plants would help. So I got into smoking a lot of weed, and I remember hanging out with my friends, reconnecting with old friends, and just kind of having fun with that. It kind of gave me something to do in high school to make me feel like I belonged. I ended up getting kind of an addiction to marijuana, not even the marijuana itself, but I have OCD, so when I would smoke the weed, and if the weed didn't come out of the vaporizer the way perfectly, or I felt like I didn't smoke it right, I feel like I had to smoke more. And that was kind of destructive, and kind of something I wish I got rid of. But then I got into meditation during COVID. Yeah, that's right, COVID happened. And I got into meditation, and I was able to feel the weed way more. And I would smoke a lot, and I would get paranoid, feeling like I was dying. And that was when I got into spirituality, because one of my stoner friends turned me on to Alan Watts. And that was the cause. That was the one that really opened me up, and I started listening to it. And it wasn't like I listened to it and I'm like, oh, I want to get enlightened now. I felt like Buddhism really fit my way of seeing the world and the way I kind of had to deal with things. And I thought, choiceless awareness and watching your thoughts, it was just fascinating to me. So I got really into that, and it really changed my view of the world. And then, so I graduated high school, and my mom moved to a mobile home, and I had my first psychedelic experience down there. I'm not going to go into it much, but it was me, my best friend, and my other friend. And I basically cried and had a catharsis, and a lot of trauma I didn't know was in there. So that opened me up even more, and ever since then, a lot of people say, or a lot of my old life coach, CBRS worker at the time, that was kind of working through the trauma in 10th grade that I had, said that I had a very psychedelic way of seeing the world. This is his words, not mine. I'm not saying I have any special way of seeing the world. This is just how he interprets it. And so I keep, watching that stuff and really learning it, kind of getting obsessed with it. And now let's go up to now. So I think CP, like I said, has kind of forced me into a non-dual state of consciousness. Not that I'm special or anything, like I said, it just I kind of have to see the interconnected things, and my therapist even said that, yeah, Justin, you're kind of forced into enlightenment. So over the past, I'd say, probably a year or so, I've been really seeing the non-dual nature of awareness, and it's been super illuminating and super helpful for me, but it's also been kind of destabilizing, because I question what is thinking my thoughts, and who is thinking my thoughts, and who is controlling, who is behind this. And I don't know, it's helped me see the beauty of my existence and the kind of sacredness of being here. And I feel like if I wasn't disabled, I'd be stuck kind of in a huge ego trip. And yeah, it was it's been really helpful for me, and I've got to talk to a lot of cool people, one person particularly, in the psychedelic community. We have video calls probably once a month or so, and it's been super helpful for me. But it's kind of hard because I just want to talk to people, but then, I'm thinking about things that most people don't really think about. I still get depressed. I still have my moments where I feel like, who is thinking these thoughts? What is thinking these thoughts? It gets very jumbled, but like I said, it's really helped me to see the meaning of my life and the purpose of my life. I've always wanted to socialize more with people, and I do have a lot of amazing friends and people that love me, but sometimes I wish for more feminine interactions, not even a girlfriend, just somebody to talk to. I've had girls that are friends in the past, but they never really felt deep enough for me, and I've always wanted more than that. It's just really hard to find connections that feel satisfying to me. It gets hard, but I'm starting to realize that everything is a reflection of myself if I could walk, and that, life is beautiful. And I think that's the meaning of my cerebral palsy and the meaning of why I'm here, just being able to be part of whatever this is, and getting comfortable with states of not knowing and just being with the mystery of life is something I'm trying to get better at. I think we all get born into this matrix of life, and they tell us all the normal stuff like get a job and get a family, and I can't really participate in that. So I think life is trying to kind of put us in this matrix and then figure it out for ourselves and then come up with our own unique way of seeing the world and come up with new ideas. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to spread with my life and my purpose. I think there's a lot that I'm still learning, and there's a lot that I want to, spread, but I don't know how because of where I live. It's very conservative here, and there's not a lot of psychedelically minded people here, but I keep trying, and I keep finding more ways to be express myself through comedy and stuff like that. So that's basically my how cerebral palsy kind of forced me into spiritual enlightenment. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I come up with more ideas, because I feel like making YouTube videos might help me come up with more cool ideas to share to the world. So thanks for watching the video, guys, and I hope to see you later.